Joe, welcome to the Parliament 2010 event. I suppose the big thing that we're going to be talking about tonight isn't where the debate has focused so far, which is what role is new technology going to play in the forthcoming election, but it's how the technology is going to change the business of doing government after the next election. I mean, how do you think greater connectivity is going to give power to the people?
Well, I think that's the most exciting thing about it, and where we're already starting to see change. I think it will force Parliament and politicians and government to listen more immediately to what people are saying. And we've seen with the Trafigura case, with the controversy over the Jan Moore article, that very quickly a lot of people can be mobilised through social networking. And in fact, even as far back as January of this year, I remember when the government said that within 7 days it was going to pass a law so that MPs' expenses would be exempt from freedom of information. The social media campaign to contact MPs was, I think, instrumental in getting the government to back down, and of course that has proved pretty explosive and leading to a lot of radical reform in politics. So I think you can already argue social media has had a big impact, and what it's just going to do is mean that people can create their own campaigns, and for ones that have a lot of traction, then very quickly they can get out there and connect people even at opposite ends of the country who care about the same issue.
Now, it's interesting you should mention the expenses scandal, because of course many people think now that trust in politicians is kind of at an all-time low. Can the technology, social media, Twitter, those kinds of tools actually rebuild trust in politicians?
I think it's important not to over-egg and say that new social media and technology is going to be a panacea to all sorts of problems with turnout and trust and everything. There's a lot of things, I believe, that need to be done to clean up politics and rebuild trust. But I do think that tools like Twitter play an important part in that, because what they do is they break down the distance between politicians and the people that they represent, and I think that's one of the key things that needs to happen for that trust in politics to be rebuilt. So I certainly think there's an important role to play there, and I also just think it's interesting how this will evolve, because 2 years ago you wouldn't have predicted the impact it's having on politics now, and I'm sure in 2 or 3 years' time this will be used in new ways that we can't even conceive of at the moment.
Now, there's one thing that I wanted to ask, is that there are various e-government agendas that are being floated around. The Conservatives announced theirs a couple of weeks back. Which party do you think is going to make the best fist of giving people access to data and creating better consultation with the public through new technology?
Well, obviously, I'm a Liberal Democrat, so I'm going to tell you the Liberal Democrats would, because we have a sort of philosophy about freedom, about giving power to the individuals. But I think, putting party politics aside, what we do have to recognise is that there is always within government a reluctance to give out power, whichever party is in government, and to sort of conserve the status quo. And so there is a battle to be won there. So even when parties are pitching ideas in their manifestos, to make sure that that is driven through into policy changes after an election, it's very important that people don't think, well, you get the policy in the manifesto and that's it. Actually, it requires people to be very active in campaigning with their own MPs to keep the agenda high on the politicians' radar as well. Because I do think there will be a temptation for the new government, whichever colour that is, to kind of revert to old typical government ways. So people power is absolutely crucial in stopping that happening.
Joe Swinson, thank you very much.
Thank you.